Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting.
Hi.
Dave, welcome back from your trip to
my
the Midwest.
Trip to Chicago this time, as opposed to the pretend one from the draft episode.
That's right. I thought. Oh, look at you breaking kayfabe. I thought that was real. I thought that trip to the Chicago Bears draft room was real.
Yeah, they let me on campus before they announced they're building a new stadium outside of the city.
The illusion is shattered.
Which is apparently a very controversial topic in Chicago.
Oh, wow. Okay. The only thing I saw, obviously, other than what you were sharing, was that really unfortunate sign outside of Wrigley. I guess there's like a famous bar that referred to our darling Mets as the White Sox of New York. I don't know if you saw that when you were. Yeah, it said it's whatever that famous bar is right across the street from Wrigley.
The Cubby Bear?
Maybe. I don't know. I can find the picture later, but it said like don't have tickets to the game, watch the Cubs beat the White Sox of New York tonight.
That's
and that
funny,
that worked out really well for them last night.
Yeah, that said, and we could do more on this on if we've talked about it on Live at 5, but it's a really visiting fans in the New York area generally don't love coming here. I gotta say, like, this is my second time being to Wrigley. I'm not a Cubs fan. This is the first time I've seen like my team play there though. And it's great. Like, as long as you're cool, nobody cares. And like, it's really hard not to be cool at Wrigley. Like,
and I mean, watching it on TV though, there were quite a few Mets fans in the house.
Yeah. And they don't love it, but it's also like Wrigley is such a destination that
true.
You can't really help but realize that you're going to get fans of like all teams coming through there because it's such a historic building. Like, it's such a historic place, and it's really cool because it's right in the middle of the section of town. So you're like walking down the street and there's shops and restaurants and all this stuff, and then there it is. It's very similar to Boston.
I was gonna say like Fenway. It's that old stadium style where it's just
it's the coolest thing. It's just yeah. But it's great. Like I've not been to a game at Fenway yet, but I've been, like I said, I've been to two at Wrigley and I've been other places. It's by far my favorite stadium to visit so far.
Very cool. Well, we have a lot to discuss tonight. We have a new guest on the show, but a little
Always
bit
love a new guest,
right? And I feel like we've been trying to weave, bob and weave. Get some. Not only is tonight's guest new to the show, new friend of the pod, but also it's a like very, very unique and different topic. In the collectible space than we've discussed before.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one for everybody, I think.
Yeah, I can't wait to like really squeeze as much as we can out of this topic.
That was good.
See what I did there. But before we do that,
that's my job. The fun wordplay. Also, this is my first episode with purple hair, so
it is. Your hair was much more purple before you left for Riot Fest. It's like
there was a lot of rain
pink
and
territory.
A lot of need to shower at a festival.
But before, as always, before we hop into invite our guest on here and hop into the topic, we've got a giveaway. So it is still September, last time I checked. And we, of course, have partnered up with a fellow member of the wrestling figure community, Alex West Collects. one of our buddies out there, to give
Mhm.
away this invisible. I'm air quoting. I'm finger quoting very hard.
Never seen
Invisible.
17.
Yeah, they never seen 17. The Invisible Collector's Edition WWE Elite John Cena. So pretty sought after figure, I would say, at this point. It's super cool. You know, Dave and I both have one ourselves.
Mhm.
Um, and this is your chance to get one. So you can visit us at AIC_podcast over on Instagram. Look for the pinned post, follow all the rules in the post. You have until September 30th to enter. And then on October 1st, the official start of spooky season, for real, we will announce the winner of this giveaway, as well as announce our what I'm referring to, Dave, as our first ever trick or treat giveaway. We will have
Alright.
two giveaways, two chances to win um on October 1st throughout October, and both giveaways, again, just dropping some hints here. Both giveaways are first time on the pod giveaways, so things from toy lines and parts of the toy world that we have never given away before. And they are both spooky season adjacent
Mhm.
and or very much so related. So yeah,
And even though it's a trick or treat giveaway, you will not have to ring any doorbells.
no doorbells will need to be rung. And even though it's it's really like treat and treat, there's no
Mhm.
tricks involved. Both are prizes.
Yeah, it's
Are
gonna be
giveaways.
pretty standard. It's gonna be the pretty standard follow tag, like
Yep. But you just have two chances. And then actually, here's the trick or treat element. I just thought of this on the
we should
fly,
call it
and
the
this
treat
is
and treat giveaway.
no, the trick or treat is first person to respond gets dibs. So when we announce the winner in November 1st, if
Whoever
there's going to be two
responded
prizes,
first.
whoever responds first gets to pick which of the two prizes. So get those fingers and or thumbs ready. Turn on
Whoever
those
responds to
notifications.
whoever responds to when you say they won first.
Yes, correct. And
Okay.
we'll make sure timestamps are available for proof purposes. But both prizes are super cool, so I'm really excited to announce that. But that's for later. For now, we've got for right now, it's time to introduce our guest. So this week, we are joined by a new friend of the pod, Ryan Carr. He is the senior sales executive at Incredible Novelties, Inc. He has 20 years of experience in the toy industry, including leadership roles at Mastermind Toys. Ryan, he knows a thing or two about what makes a product successful. So a step outside the usually highly articulated collectibles we typically cover, Incredible's latest creation, Squishy, is hitting Target end caps this October. These scented, squishy, sensory collectibles are inspired by iconic candy brands like Sour Patch Kids, Ring Pop, Swedish Fish, and even some wild, gross out throwbacks like some toxic waste. Love us some toxic waste. Yeah, so nostalgia, sensory play, maybe a little ASMR. All wrapped into one. Ryan, welcome to Adventures in Collecting.
Thank you so much for having me. Great intro, by the way. Like, nailed it. There's nothing more I can add. I don't even know what I'm here for. It's great.
All right, so that's the whole episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
I will add, hang on, I will add. I heard you guys talking a lot of baseball just off the top. I have to say, I am a Toronto Blue Jays fan. I am a Canadian and a Toronto Blue Jays fan. We are having a great season. Nobody is giving us any respect at all. And yeah, we've been playing some middling baseball in the last few games, but here's a prediction. You heard it here first. The Jays are going to shock everybody and go straight to the dance. It's going to be awesome. See you later, Judge. 50 home runs. I don't care. Get out of here. Who cares?
So we're Mets fans.
Yeah, I know. I heard. That's why I knew. Yeah. I felt in a safe space.
That yes, totally safe. Also, I think that call was, so this is going to air on a few days after this call happened, but that back-to-back foul ball call and then that awful third strike. Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
I'm not prepared
Absolutely
I
brutal.
shouldn't have brought it up because I'm not ready to talk about that. That one was deeply
Brutal.
painful. I'm sorry. This is a baseball podcast, right? Like we're not.
It is now.
Okay.
It is now.
Good.
We have that ability to morph. We like lots of fandoms. We cover. We talk about lots of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Baseball is very, very hot right now for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah. So, but before we jump into everything here, as this is a show about collecting, the first thing that we ask all of our guests, Ryan, what do you collect? And let me preface this with, it doesn't have to be toys. If the answer isn't like something toy related and you have some really cool collection of some kind or quirky thing, whatever you collect.
Shockingly, I do collect toys. Having been in this business for as long as I've been in this business, big Lego guy, love Lego. Also recently started collecting vintage toys. My partner, she gave me an old Erector set that she found at a flea market or something. And by the way, Erector set's 100 years old. They work with today's sets. Like they haven't, it's the same. Like it's the same molds, everything. And that sort of set me on a path where I was like, oh, this is cool and on brand for me, having some cool vintage stuff. So yeah, shockingly toys. Not so much in the collector realm where you guys play. Say much more in the, I lived through a lot of fads, Rainbow Loom and Fingerlings and Tamagotchi going way back and Beanie Babies and these things. And so having some of these around to remind me of the being in the business of those times is kind of fun. So I would say that toys.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then it's always funny, like how we like carve our own like collector paths out of things sometimes, and how we like find our way back in. And I always reference like Dave has been a wrestling fan for much longer than I have been, but just doing this podcast
on the planet a little bit longer, so by default
roughly 7 years or so. But this podcast ended up being my avenue to get back into wrestling figures. Like I bought a wrestling figure in order to be able to do like photography and size and scale comparisons. And I was like, wow, wrestling figures have changed a lot. Maybe I'll watch wrestling again. And we went, slippery slope, rabbit hole sort of situation. It always ends up that way.
When I was a kid in the 80s, I did have one of the original WWF rings with the Hulk Hogan figure, and I can remember Jake the Snake with the kind of, if I'm being honest, a little bit crappy snake that he came with that was around his shoulders that I lost immediately and was so destroyed over that. And even worse, still contentious in my family to this day, is the fact that when I went away to school, my parents packed up a lot of my toys from the 80s and 90s, and those were then divested without my knowledge or permission. I contend. My mom is like, no, I told you I was going to do that. It's fine. We gave it, with the church sale or whatever. It was great. We raised like $50. Like, oh my God, Mom, what have you done? What have you done? So some of these things, there's holes in my collection still because of that, if I can say that.
Holes in your collection, and it sounds like maybe your soul a little bit.
Yeah, and your heart.
Yeah, definitely in my heart. Also in my relationship with my mother. This is still deeply, it comes up in therapy every week. Anyways.
Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, Adventures in Therapy, Adventures in Baseball. We're just going to keep adding things to the title this week. It's going to be
it's Adventures in ...
Good, wide ranging.
Yeah, totally. So before we get into Squishy, just Ryan, a little bit of a background on your journey through the toy industry and how you landed at Incredible Novelties.
Well, my story is back to my mom's, completely based on nepotism, actually, because my first job in the toy business, I got it at the dinner table. My mom managed a toy store when I was a kid. And so growing up, that, by the way, everything your first draft in your head of what that looks like, exactly. Like it was awesome. The latest Lego sets, every time they launched, I got them first when they were still coming out of the boxes. It was like, Willy Wonka except toys. Or Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium is probably the rest. Anyways, so my mom managed a toy store. And so when I was a teenager, when I was 14 years old, she said, okay, you got to stop hanging out here and, just taking toys home. You got to work here. And I started to work in that toy store, and I ended up working there as a teenager for about 10 years. My mom retired, and then other people came in, and I got to know the owners of the business to whom the toy store belonged. That was called Mastermind Toys. At the time, it was about 10 stores in the Toronto area, and I worked in one of them and got to know the owners. And I went away to school, came back, called up the owners and said, by the way, I'm done school now and I really could use a job. And they said, well, do you want to come work for us? And so I became a toy buyer. At that time, it was a smaller company, so we all did a lot of things, but I became a toy buyer and did that for another 17 years. And Mastermind grew and went cross country during that time. And I eventually came to run the buying team for many, many years. So I had a team of buyers who our job was to select all the toys that went into Mastermind, which was a very cool job. And over those years, I bought from a number of different companies, including my friends at Incredible Novelties. The owners, Saul and Dan, my age, friends of mine for probably 15 years, and bought tons of different products from them. And when it came time that I eventually did leave Mastermind, I called my friends up and said, hey, I could really use a job. And they said, well, we were thinking about expanding into the US. Do you want to try your hand at that? And I said, yeah, that sounds super fun. And so then I started to not buy toys, but sell toys and be heavily involved in toy design and licensing and all kinds of fun things at Incredible.
So I love that you have this background in buying, right? I think it's something that as collectors and across the board, right? Like we always shop at like the big retailers, the Targets, the Walmarts, even like, Best Buy is carrying toys and stuff now. And there's a lot of like mystery about like how that process works, right? Like who decides what goes on what pegs and, how much space a certain thing gets and how does that get carved out and, how do those deals happen? What's it like having been on kind of like that side and then moving over to the other side of it?
It's like all the time people would say, oh, you had the job of like Tom Hanks in the movie Big. And I want to say yes to that every time. The truth is it's a lot of spreadsheets. It's a lot of numbers. It's a lot of strategy around, the metrics of the business. But what I always do say to people is it's such an amazing job because you'd be at your desk, trying to work out numbers, figure out how you're going to hit your goals and your budgets and all these things. And, geez, this category is not working. What are we going to do here? This and that. And somebody just pokes their head in your office and is like, hey, come check this out. This is wicked. And all of a sudden you're playing football in the hall, with a new football that spins. And you're like, how does it spin like that? That is, this is wicked. Let's see the package. Oh, the package is amazing. What's it going to cost? Oh, that's an amazing price. Like, oh my God, like we got to buy so many, like we got to get an exclusive. We got to make some cool video around this. We got to do some marketing. And it's like, that's when the job is amazing. When you really get into the fun aspect of like, oh, this is a cool thing. And I see why it's a cool thing. And I see why people will want this. And then you do your merchant things to bring it to life in a store and make sure your staff, at least at the kind of retail where I used to work, make sure your staff know all about it and have the education to sell it and everything. And it's super fun. And like the most fun in that job is when you're sitting in a meeting and a vendor is showing you a bunch of things and you're just imagining what they could be and how many people would like them and why they would like them, or sometimes why it's terrible. and why you're like, oh my gosh, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Nobody would ever want this. I cannot select this. Like, and how do I nicely tell this person that that's what I think? You know? And so, yeah, toy buying is a bit, but I understand it looks like there's a lot of mystery to it, because sometimes you stand in front of a shelf and you're like, what happened? Like, why did you do this? Why did you make these decisions? And even me, I'll be in a store and be like, why did you do this? Is not who your customer is or what you should be doing. But, you know, I think the last thing I'll say about it is that, you know, there's a bunch of different types of people who end up in the job, and the uncharitable description of somebody who wouldn't be good at it would be a widget buyer, in that they're just buying widgets. It could be anything. It doesn't matter that it's a toy. It's just, you know, it's a thing. It's a box. It's a number on a spreadsheet, which again, a lot of the job is that. But the best toy buyers are the ones that are like, oh, this is wicked. Like, and I used to say to my buying team, it's like when you feel your inner kid start to like, oh, like, wait, what is, like, this is, you know, that's when you're like, listen, this is fun. This is cool. This could lead to very good sales. Not always, but, you know, that's the type of individual that I think really excels in the toy business, you know, and can do well with it.
Yeah, you got to find your inner 10-year-old that you've locked in a cage somewhere.
Yeah. Just let them out, you know, let them rip. Yeah.
Here we're talking about toys. They're supposed to be fun. I think that's kind of what I've found to be, having been fortunate to have been to Toy Fair a couple times, is just seeing that kind of like evolve and almost being fly on the wall in a way. Like,
yeah, because we get caught up in the world of, you know, collectibles and like not necessarily high end stuff, but like, you know, like adult collector stuff, right? So it's fun when we get a chance to go to Toy Fair and like and play, you know, like and there's so much more to toys than the tiny little corner of collectibles that we've carved out for ourselves.
Toy Fair is magical, like, or it can be, you know what I mean? You can see a lot of people traipsing around that building who sort of, you know, they've done it before, they've seen it before. It's not magical for them anymore. And it's like, oh, that's too bad. But really, like, it's supposed to be like kid in a candy store, like go from booth to booth and see what they got. Like, everybody's got their interesting, fun, exciting thing that they've poured their heart into and think is the next best thing in this business. And some of it's not going to work, you know? So it's not great, but it's so much passion in the building. It's like, if you tap into that, man, Toy Fair is the best. It's so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of things that are different, for those that haven't necessarily seen the incredible novelties Squishy items, tell us a little bit about what kind of sets them apart from other collectibles.
Well, yeah, I can tell you that my company has been making squishy toys for 10,000 years, and we're really good at it. And you may be surprised to hear, though, that we're not the only company making squishy toys. And so,
don't say.
Yeah, shocking, shocking. And so as we often do, we were just sort of kicking around, trying to come up with, all right, like, what's the next angle? What's the next interesting thing? What can we do that's just, you know, it's not rocket science, the toy business. Some of it is. Some toys are pretty intense, but a lot of it is just like, you know, what's fun? What's interesting? What's different? And as we were kicking ideas around a couple of years ago, somebody said, well, what about food, like squishy food? All right, it's kind of been done, but like, okay, squishy food, you know, interesting. What if we scented it? Like, is that possible? Do you guys know how to do that? No, I don't know how to do that. All right. Could we figure it out? Yeah, probably. Yeah, of course. We can figure anything out. Okay. So we'll make it scented food. That's it. What if we made it like, you know, based on food that's out there and candies? And we had a half-baked napkin sketch of an idea and started to call up candy companies. And we had no experience in licensing at the time and learned a lot of harsh lessons very quickly, but managed with these napkin sketches to convince a few companies that the idea was worth exploring. And we signed our first few partnerships and set about making the toys, and quickly realized it was way harder than we thought. Like so much harder, so much harder, when to make them. But to answer your question, what sets them apart? Well, they are almost across the board, almost all of them scented squishy toys that look and in many cases kind of feel like the real thing. We go for broke on packaging, trying to call back to brands that people know and love, like Sour Patch Kids and Swedish Fish and Bazooka Joe gum, which, by the way, had no idea. People are deeply passionate about Bazooka Joe gum. Lots of intense reaction to that one. And like I said before, it's not rocket science. These are simple items. They're fun, low price point items that are a little different, that when you see them on the shelf, you're like, oh, that's crazy. And then you sort of feel it and it's like, oh, that's cool. And they make a great little special something, whether it's just for the kid who, is in the grocery store in the check lane and sees, mom and dad see something cool there and grab it for them as a little thing, or whether it's in a party favor bag, or just something, if you're a person like me and super fidgety and you just have to constantly be, at something. It's like, oh, here's an interesting thing for you to be at. And I would say that's what sets us apart in a crowded category, admittedly. And it seems like, based on the feedback that we're getting and based on how the products are being received, that we're onto something. So that is gratifying after you put a lot of work into something, like I was talking about earlier. And we're just excited to finally, and now that it's getting wider and wider sort of release and placement, that's exciting for us.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
This segment is brought to you by our friends at Chubsy Wubsy Toys. A traditional mom-and-pop toy store in Little Falls, New Jersey, Chubsy Wubsy Toys brings you the best new toys from the brands you love without the hassle of pounding the pavement searching for them at larger retail stores. Visit them in person at their brand new home at 101 Newark Pompton Turnpike, Suite 1 in Little Falls, New Jersey, or online at chubsywubsy.com. That's CHUBZYWUBZZY.com. And tell them Adventures in Collecting sent you.
And now, back to the show.
Yeah, when the Skittles ones first came out, I think that those were like some of the first ones that you guys did that were scented, if I remember correctly, from the very kind box you guys sent us a couple years ago. I just remember thinking like, oh man, this smells like a Skittle. Like, I mean, it smells like the candy.
It was actually Jelly Belly. The
Jelly Belly. That's
Jelly
right.
Belly. This was the first.
My apologies.
No, you're fine. The hardest, by the way. It's so hard.
But that red jelly bean smelt like a Jelly Belly jelly bean.
Yeah, because that's a very distinct, like their flavors and scents are very distinct.
And there's also something that's just fun about, like, even like the Sour Patch Kid ones, like they're a good size where it's like, this is funny because it's a giant jelly bean.
Yes.
Or a giant Sour Patch Kid. And like people have these visceral connections to the things that they eat, and like especially like the snacks and candies that they love. And it was like we had so much fun with the Jelly Belly. I can't believe I thought they were Skittles. I'm sorry. The Jelly Belly ones, because we all have different like favorite flavors, and like the orange one smelt like the orange one. The very cherry one was very clearly very cherry. Like it was those classic.
Yeah, my favorite back in the Jelly Belly line was the root beer one. That's a hard scent. And by the way, like a little bit of background for you, we work with a scent company that has perfumists, and we sort of throw these things at them where we're like, okay, we got to make a toxic waste scent. And they're like, what? Like, what is toxic waste? and we'll kind of say, it's like sour green apple or something, and they'll work up a sample for us. Perfumists, they're essentially like chemists, right?
Yep.
They'll send us the sample, and we'll, as often will happen, we'll smell it and go, no. And then what's funny about the process is you've got to go back to these people and tell them, like, what's wrong with it? Why and that's so hard, where you're like, I don't know, it's just not toxic waste. Like, what do you mean what's wrong with it? And what they always say to us is, well, just use words. Just give us words. And so you'll say something like, okay, fine, it's too sharp. And they're like, oh yeah, totally. We know exactly how to fix that. Okay, it needs to be like, yeah, like too sharp. Is it more rounded? It needs to be a more rounded scent. Oh yeah, no problem. Yep, we can. And it's so funny how you just give them nonsense and they're like, oh, exactly. Yep, here we go. And here's your next sample. And you're like, oh yeah, it's not sharp anymore. How'd you guys do that? Like, that's so perfect. But that was just one of the many things we learned through this process, because it turned out to be way harder than we thought it was going to be. Definitely. The other thing is, when you're working with licensors, they approve everything. And so, as was the case with Jelly Belly, they were, they're very protective of their brand. They want it to be a good brand experience for their, be it Jelly Belly, Bazooka, Ring Pop, whatever. And so, we have to send these things off to get approved. And sometimes we'll get feedback that's at odds with what we think about the product. And then you have to it's a strange experience of going into a meeting where you're going to like tussle with the brand to try and convince them what you think, because no, in a toy, it should be more like this, and it should be this size, or else it's going to be this price, and that's crazy. And, and again, we were just used to making toys that we looked at and be like, yeah, cool. Okay, make it, produce it. Great. On to the next one. And now we have to get all these permissions and everything, and then these approvals. And that was just a whole new element, which we've got a lot better at. We sort of know how to, soft shoe through that process a little better and deliver feedback that isn't, blunt and insulting to their brand, if I can say that. And yeah, so it's been a lot of fun, and like, it is great that the products are being that people seem to like them. We get a lot of people say, every time anybody says anything nice about the product, I just say thank you, because it looks like a nothing little item, but I'm telling you, the amount of hours and late night, Zooms with overseas and all this that you go through to try and figure these things out before they get to the shelf, not to mention the whole process of convincing buyers that it should be on their shelf, and then, going through all the rigmarole to get in the different stores. It's, by the time it gets to somebody and they go like, oh yeah, that's really cool, it's like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for saying that. I needed that so badly. Yeah.
Now these are pretty big deal partnerships. Sour Patch Kids, Ring Pop, Swedish Fish, Toxic Waste, Dippin' Dots, Bazooka. How did these collaborations come about?
Yeah, so again, by chance almost. It's like, despite our best efforts, I think, in some cases, because the early companies, like, for example, so the company that owns Oreo, Swedish Fish, and Sour Patch Kids is called Mondelez, enormous confectionery company, enormous reach, enormous brands. They're used to doing enormous partnerships. You might have noticed Oreo frequently has, like, pumpkin spice and whatever. It's like, and those are massive deals that these people are.
Their Reese's one that's happening right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of this world good, by the way.
No,
anyone
so
listening, it's so good. It's delicious. It's the best peanut butter Oreo you will ever eat.
On both ends. Even the cup is good.
Yeah. And so, yes, everybody knows these things. Everybody's seen them, and then along comes this quirky little toy company. Like, we've got an idea. Like, we want to take your Oreo and make it so that it's like a squish, but the icing squishes out the side. And they're like, all right, that's weird. Okay. Have you done anything like this before? Can you actually do it? well, no, like we're not sure we can do it. We're pretty sure, like this is, but no, we never had a partnership like this before. Okay, yeah, wow, strike two. Okay, and I think it was just the fact, if I'm being honest, I think the fact that we were so clearly passionate and just quite honest, I think, with a lot of these companies, that we were by no means presenting them with a partnership that was as big as pumpkin spice Oreos going into every grocery store around the world. But I think all of them who have signed on with us, and now it's a number of companies, kind of looked at it and were like, oh, that's really cool. Like, oh, that's really cool. And the first few who signed on were so grateful for that, Mondelez being one of them, who kind of gave us the shot. And then the subsequent brands can see like, wow, that Oreo that you made, like, and that squishy Swedish fish, like, oh man, the scent, it smells exactly like a Swedish fish. Okay, yeah. You could probably do something cool with Ring Pop. Okay, yeah, let's do this. And we keep parlaying it into more and more and fun and interesting partnerships. So it's the answer to your question, how did this come about, is we were lucky, I think, and we had a few companies who kind of took a shot at it, and then we've been snowballing ever since.
So nostalgia is clearly baked into this, in some degree. I mean, things like Bazooka Joe and even like the Swedish Fish and toxic waste stuff.
Yeah, the comic on the back.
How do you balance that level of nostalgia, but also doing things to appeal to kids today that may not have those same like baked in snacking and kind of candy memories from bygone years?
It's a great question, because when we first started making these products, we did sort of sit down and ask ourselves, are we making these for kids or are we making these for adults? And for the most part, we believe we're making them for like adults, quite frankly, and tweens and teens, but in many cases, it's people who have these nostalgic memories of these brands, and it's clearly what we're seeing in the market as well. Kids obviously are drawn to and attracted to our products. There's no question about that. But it's the toy term kidults. It's us. What I mean? It's us sitting around squishing these things, and so it is a balance. We're always making a toy, but we try not to miss those opportunities to lean into the stuff that people go like, oh, I remember that. Like you brought up the cartoon on the Bazooka product, which I'm going to be honest with you, I'm still like, that one still hurts me a little bit, because we all had a chance in our office to submit to the creative team ideas for the cartoon that was going to go on the back of the Bazooka Joe. And I wrote like 32. I was like, I want this as part of my legacy. Like I'm going to nail this. And I, tried. My colleague wrote one, and hers was good. And it ended up on the back of the thing, and I'm still a little upset about that one. But be that as it may, it's a balance, and I think again, I will say this: for the most part, we're trying to make a great squishy toy, something that at the end of the day, it's a simple thing, but just like you were saying before, right size, cool squish, interesting, looks like the thing. Each of them have a different squish or angle or something that just sets them a little bit apart and gives them a reason for being. And, it's, we just kind of lean into that more than anything.
Well, that being said, if you want to make a Sour Patch Kids watermelon one at some point for this big kid or some Mike and Ike's.
Oh, it's so funny you mentioned these. Yeah. What can I say? Stay tuned. How about that?
Love that.
Yeah, because that's one of those things too. Like, if off the top of my head, like I know what a Swedish fish feels like. I eaten so many of them in my lifetime. Like, even a Sour Patch Kid, like with the sugary outside, like what these things are, and you could see them, or you could like close your eyes and be like, yep, that's this, that's that. You know, it's pretty great.
Well, it is little things. It is little things like that too. Like you mentioned the sugar on the Sour Patch Kid. I happen to be holding one right now. Like we figured out how to mold that onto the outside of the product. It's hard to see in my crappy webcam here, but so the product does have like a sugary surface. And one of our designers was trying to figure out how to do that, and eventually he just had to hand place on his. He had to place all the little ridges, you know, sort of one by one to get it right. I don't know. I'm not a technical person. I can't tell you why he had to do it that way. I just know that it was so painstaking. And he was like, do I really have to do this? And we were like, yes, because it's going to make it better. Mm-hmm. So I'm so sorry. Here's a can of Coke and enjoy your all-nighter. Yeah.
But that sensory aspect too, like, plays into it, because, you know, I'm like a texture and fidgety person myself, and sensory play and ASMR are big trends right now. So how intentional was it to weave those elements into Squishy?
Well, yeah, like I said before, we've been making squishy toys for a long time, and during the pandemic, that category exploded, because, you know, there was that widespread sort of belief, acceptance, whatever you want to call it, that, hey, listen, a lot of people are experiencing a lot of anxiety, and something simple like a little, you know, textured toy, something just to worry at, you know, can help. And so kids who were doing online school on Zoom and these kind of things, it really blew up as a category. One of those strange quirks of the pandemic that was strange in so many ways. And it never went down. Like a lot of things that went, you know, stuff for your backyard went crazy during the pandemic. And then after, it was like, wow, we have a lot of stuff in our backyards. We don't have to buy anything for the backyard for like 6 years, you know, that
bread making supplies.
Yeah, exactly. That came down. Squishies didn't. And so we knew a lot about making squishies, and we had a lot of experience with that, and the different materials you can use and the different ways you can do it, and what makes one cool and fun, and sizing and pricing and cost. And we had great relationships with different producers of these different types of things. And so we had a toolkit that we could draw from to do that sort of thing. So it was very intentional. Each one has its, you know, like the ring pop, the squishy that you can actually wear and sort of fidget with. Well, it's a, you know, like we were drawing on a lot of experience to do those things.
Yeah, I think that's a great aspect too, just as someone who's you know, kind of always enjoyed like that tactile, that sensory of feeling of whether it was like a seam on a sleeve of a hoodie, or like, you know, just really anything. And to be able to like kind of learn through, oh yeah, this is actually like an anxiety based thing, to know that like, oh, I could actually, you know, not destroy the seams of my clothing. I could have like a Swedish fish.
It's an outlet.
Is excellent. Yeah.
It's a simple thing. I keep saying it. It's not rocket science. You know, it's a simple thing. We put a lot into it,
and it works on so many ways. Like,
well, thanks.
So many levels.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. We do put a lot into it, but yeah, no, it's fun too. They're simple. You know, I can tell you a quick one, like the Bazooka Joe gum. In truth, we wanted to sign the license for the ring pop, and this is the same company. And they sort of said, well, if you're signing this, we'll put this as part of it too, and make a Bazooka Joe. And we were like, all right, that's going to be a really boring squishy. That's going to be a rectangle. What is fun about it? Okay, well, the scent will be really cool. And okay, well, the nostalgic packaging will be really cool. And okay, like the comic, okay. And if we just give it a gum squish, like, I don't know exactly what that is, but we're going to figure that out. Like, it's got to squish like gum somehow. And squish like gum, with all due respect to Bazooka, that's a little bit stale, because it's like when it's a little bit stale, that's like the best Bazooka. Yeah. And, you know, and you just go through stuff, and it became, honestly, it's one of our most popular items out of the gate, when it was originally a bit of an afterthought for us, just because we leaned into the sensory stuff and the nostalgia stuff and, you know, simple things like that.
So we mentioned at the top, that you've got this major Target end cap coming in October. What does that kind of retail presence mean for Squishy at this stage, and for kind of this project overall?
Yeah, it's pretty big. I don't know if you guys knew this. Target has a lot of stores. So many
You
stores.
don't say.
Yeah. So that's pretty exciting. I mean, obviously, from a business standpoint, it's transformative, for sure. Getting the exposure that will come with a high-profile placement in Target like this, but also kind of like what I was alluding to before. It's just nice validation. It's like we were talking about buyers before. When you sit in front of a Target buyer who has great power to bring, products into their section in very limited space, and believe me, everybody under the sun is showing Target everything. And when that buyer says, "Wow, I want everything. Like, I like it all," that's like, oh, okay, that is validating. That is really great. And I think in this case, the buying team that we're working with at Target is extremely talented, and they really have a vision for what they're trying to do. And we're fortunate that we fit in with that. And we're really excited just to get it's going to put it into the hands of a lot more people, which, is pretty cool, pretty fun. We've been working at this for a few years, so that's pretty great.
So from your perspective, what's the biggest challenge when introducing like a new collectible line like this into such a competitive toy market?
Just having a point of difference, just being something that people notice, because you guys well know it's like a lot of people, as much as the toy business can be magical, there's a lot of Me Too. There's just a lot of stuff that's like slight iterations on what came before. I would be remiss in not recognizing that ours is definitely an iteration on the Squishy category, but it's like you got to iterate enough. You got to do something just a little different enough to kind of find your niche and have a reason for people to go like, oh, that's cool. Like, versus, oh, that's the same, Yep. So that I would say that's the biggest challenge.
And I think it's interesting, right? Like seeing something like this, we talk about this, in just kind of the content space in general, right? Like you're not competing against other squishy manufacturers, like other companies that do squishy toys. You're competing against everything that anybody is spending their money on, like across the board, not even just like the toy market. You walk into a Target, it's effectively like a department style store, right? And the toy aisle is more towards the back. They've got to walk through quite a bit of store before they get to the toy section. You need to have something that has that kind of visual hook, something to make your product stand out. And like I said before, there's something to be said about a roughly 5-inch long Swedish fish. Like it's something that's instantly recognizable. The colors and the packaging is, if you're watching this here on YouTube, the colors on the packaging are like, they pop. It's just, and they're also reminiscent of the way that the actual thing is familiar. Packaged. It's so clever. It really is clever.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. It's it's you got to do everything you can just to get noticed. It's really the hardest part of it.
So without spoiling too much, I know I already threw my request.
Minor spoiler.
my request out into the ether for some watermelon Sour Patch Kids. That's the greatest candy in the world, by the way, for anyone that's listening. What can fans expect next from Squishy? Are there any new scents, styles, or maybe partnerships on the horizon? Anything that you can maybe hint at, or if you can't,
sure.
nothing at all?
I can just ever so slightly hint at a few things. We have this is the fun thing about where we are now, is that now especially with all these companies who tend to know each other and see what each other is doing. Now we kind of feel, oh yeah, you're the Squishy guys. Like, will you do ours? And we're getting approached by people who want big, and also bigger and bigger companies and bigger brands that would like to sometimes, things that were like, that doesn't work. Love your brand, but we have no idea how to do this. But other times, things like I am holding a squishy Kool-Aid man. Stay tuned. He smells so good, by the way. This is our
I was gonna
first.
say, I hope it's fruit punch.
Oh, it's like bang on. I'm
I was going to
telling
say
you.
emphasis on oh yeah before.
I'm telling you, it's bang on. It smells so good. Oh my god. Yeah, so it's exciting that we have lots coming, lots of big ones too, and interesting ones as well. Like, for example, you may know that Kool-Aid Man is owned by the company Kraft, and Kraft is kind of known for some other things,
especially in Canada. They
good call out, good Canadian catch, different brand in Canada.
Yeah.
if everybody knows what we're talking about, but yes, we don't call it. It just has a very basic name in Canada. It's called Kraft Dinner.
Yep.
So yeah, the Kraft has a lot of fun things actually, and we have some super fun things.
In college, there. My favorite dinner.
Yeah, evidently in Canada, like our only dinner, because that's what it's called here, which is kind of crazy, but
amazing.
Yes. We have fun stuff coming.
But yeah, that opens up. I mean, the idea of like savory versions of these, like that open. Now we're like, that's a whole new world of opportunity.
Can I tell you? I can't, and I'm so sorry that I'm going to do this, but I had a conversation with somebody today who has a savory thing that they want to turn into a toy, and we were like, what? Wait. Oh, that's so fun. And yeah, stay tuned.
I can think of a really good one that we'll talk about offline. I'll throw it your way. We'll talk about it offline.
Yeah, because you're right. It's opened up some new fun, interesting, like, oh, that's hilarious possibilities.
I can think of a character. I just don't know like if the smell would be fun.
Interesting.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, Ryan, this
thinking
takes
as
us
iconic as the Kool-Aid Man. I'll say that.
Okay.
Oh, I think we're going to talk about it offline because I think I know what you're talking about, and if it's the one, I think I had a separate conversation. It's going to be crazy if you just pick the one, because there was one I had a conversation about today, and there was another one. This is very cryptic bit of nonsense for your podcast right here, but there was another one where if you just pulled it, that's it. I'm going and signing it right now.
Mystery and intrigue. So Ryan, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us. Before we let you go, we do have a tradition here on the show. We have a final question that we ask all of our guests. So Dave, would you like to fulfill your role as this podcast's James Lipton and ask our final question?
Why, yes, I would. Ryan, the final question that we ask all of our guests. What is your favorite and or strangest piece in your collection? It can be one of each, or it can be both.
Well, when I was, I'm not positive on the year, but I think when I was 8 years old in 1988, there was a Lego set coming out called El Dorado Fortress. And I was super into the Lego Pirate stuff, which was relatively new at the time. And I had the Sears catalog, and there was a picture of that. And I asked Santa for it for Christmas, and I pored over that catalog for like 4 months, just like fantasizing about how I would play with that set. And I got it for Christmas. Santa came through. Shout out to the big man. He's been good to me over the years. And I had that set for so many years. And then lo and behold, in the calamity that was the disbursement of my toys, it was gone. And then Lego released an icon set of El Dorado Fortress, an updated, amazing version of that. And I was like talking about it around the house, like, oh, look at that. That was my favorite set when I was a kid. And telling the story to everybody, like, oh, God, wouldn't it be so cool if I had that? Oh, shucks, I don't know. Fully expecting to get that for Christmas. And instead, what my partner did, she went out and somewhere on eBay, she found the original set in packaging.
Nice.
And got me the original set, El Dorado Fortress, that I had when I was a kid that was like, the thing that I still look back and think I probably thought about no other toy more than that when I was a kid. She got me the original. And so I have an original in my collection, built, displayed with packaging. And that is my prized possession.
Wow.
Eric looks like he's looking for it.
I'm trying to find. I found a picture of the new one. Oh wait, here we go. Never mind. I got it.
The new one's sweet too. By the way, I would have liked to get the new one too, but it's the original is.
Was it one of those like when they put out the classic packaging?
8-year-old Ryan.
There we go. This is the OG. This is the original, 1989. Eldorado Fortress.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I knew exactly which one you were talking about when you said
it.
I knew exactly which one. I was just looking for the one that had the Legoland banner on the left instead of the Icons banner. Classic set. Classic.
I can still remember unwrapping it. Like, I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. Like, it was visceral. And so, and this was 1 or 2 years ago now when I, opened the present up at Christmas modern day and was like, what the, how is this possible? How did you find, it was unbelievable. Blew me away.
Yeah. That must
and
have
building it again
brain.
was just as fun.
Yeah, I'm sure
it did. I know that I just admitted to opening it and building it and displaying it. I'm so sorry. Like, as a collector,
that's what you should do.
That's what those are supposed to be. That's what you're supposed to do with those.
Yeah. It was awesome. Yeah.
Well, Ryan, before you head out, remind our listeners, our followers, where can they find Squishy? Where can they keep up to date with incredible novelties online?
So we are incrediblegroup.com. And Squishies will be in the Target stores in just a few weeks now. In October is when they launch. They're also available at all kinds of other interesting retailers, and the other thing that I always say is a lot of small toy and gift shops have really been great supporters of us, like the Learning Express stores across the U.S. They're fantastic, great stores. And just that's the kind of toy stores that I grew up into as a kid. So there's lots of places you can find them. The simplest place is going to be Target in October.
All right, and we'll make sure that we take pictures at our local Target. We post them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look for that end cap, and yeah, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Dave, I think it's time to send us home.
I'm looking forward to just having a couple Swedish fish just in various strategic locations in the house and the car. So I'm going to leave everybody with that.
Get your fish to Squish.
Yeah. There you go.
Nailed it.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.